So, geez, Prince Fortunatus in the building. I'm a seven-figure a year OFM agency owner. And today, we're going to go over a big mistake that beginners, if not anybody does that, right? These are mistakes that anybody does. And the mistake is the following. You can't work with too many models at once. Look, the thing is this, guys. There's many ways you can do anything, right? But at certain times, it's just better to do quality over quantity. So I know this guy, for example, who lives in LA. He invited me to his mansion. He lives in the huge mansion in Beverly Hills. And he was telling me, Prince, I get I think he told me 100 models a month. I don't even know if that's true. But he runs a huge operation, makes $5 million a month. But what he does, he just goes super quantity over quality because he's a huge brand where he can just gobble up fucking models at huge amounts. Now, you can do that when you start out. If anything, if you're doing under 100K a month, that's not what you can do. What you should do in the beginning is have one model and focus on one or max two traffic sources. Do you understand? So let's write this down. Number one, concentrate on one model. Okay? Now, what this does, guys, is the following, right? Let me write this down. Concentrate on one model. The biggest issue that guys run into that I've seen is they'll start, for example, working with one. It goes semi-good. She'll make 1K a month, 2K a month. They get excited. They're like, oh shit, I need to get more and more models. I need to get 2, 3, 4, 5. All of a sudden, you're just working with all these models that are not really even that good. They don't really convert that well. And now your efforts are being muddied in the water. Now, you want to avoid this because we're in the business of making money. We're in the business of making cash. We're not in the business of just working super hard for models that don't even convert that well, and your efforts are being muddied. So I have one rule when I start off with a new coaching guy, or just in general when I start off. There's always this one group. Have one model, and she has to make at least 20K a month until you even consider getting another model. Do you understand? You need to look at this as a tree, right? So let's draw a little tree here. So with a tree, you first have the base, all right? And I'm not the best fucking drawer, right? Oh, I'm gonna have some haters. Oh, but he drew the tree wrong. Man, shut the fuck up. I make cash. I'm not a fucking painter. So we draw a fucking tree here, right? To see here. So that's the fucking stem. We can do the whole thing is in the ground. It's anchored. And what you want is you want the first stem, right? That first stem is gonna be the one model making 20K a month. So write it down. That's what you want. Until you don't have that, if you don't have this, there's really no use to start scaling your models. Because if you don't have this right here, you really don't know what you're doing. It might be that you stumbled upon something that was working, maybe your wheel goes viral, and now you think you're a shit. But in reality, you don't know anything because the efforts aren't replicable. So, I'll explain you this. When I started out with Open, I was doing GGs back then. I started with the first model, and then I brought it to 40K a month. So, at that point, I just knew how to do it. I had a few little tricks, stuff I do here and there. I always have tricks up us, you guys. I always have tricks. So I had a few tricks, and at that point, it was just replicable. And what I did, I flew to Colombia, started working with a few models, and I could bring a model from day one. In 2 weeks, I could bring her up to 20K a month, 30K a month, boom. Because the results were replicable, because I already worked on getting one model to 40K a month. If I can bring one model to 40K a month, I can just copy the efforts that I did on the other model. So that's when this here comes in. You can start doing this here like a tree does, right? You have this. You have the branches coming out, right? Boom. And now you have a big, beautiful tree. But first, you need to have this here, right? So let's write this down here too. Concentrate on one model. Number 2, gather to 20K a month. To 20K a month. So in case you're one of these guys now, you're like, oh, but Prince, I only have 5 models. I'm just gonna make it work. I'm just gonna work hard. Now, think about the ways you're even saying this. If you're even in this position, have you ever thought about why you're in this position in the first place? Right? Why you have to work hard to make OF work? OF shouldn't be that fucking complicated, guys. You have one good model, which is basically the product of the business, right? You have one super good model. The product is the pictures. The product is the content. And then you have the marketing, right? If you have a good product and a semi-good marketing skill that you're applying, you should be able to get to 20K a month. Now, if you have 10 models and you try to make 10 models work in a row or at the same time, all of a sudden, it's not working. Now, another thing you guys have to consider is always this. There is always the 80-20 rule that you have to apply to your business. Let's write this down, 80-20 rule. So what's the 80-20 rule? The 80-20 rule is one of my most favorite rules to go by. So let's, for example, take investing. Let's give other examples. If you take investing, for example, if you're a retard, you just put all your money into one basket. Let's take meme coins. Let's take whatever. Meme coins is actually a good example for it. You'll take meme coins and you just fucking go all in like a fucking idiot. That's not what you should be doing, bro. Well, you can go into meme coins. It's cool. You can just risk all your money, yeah. But put 80% in Bitcoin and ETH, which is safe, and then put 20% in the meme coins, the risky stuff, right? That way, if even the meme coins drop to 0, you'll still have the 80% in the Bitcoin and ETH. That just has to make, what, like a 30%, and you would have your losses in. The same thing applies to OFM. The way this applies to OFM is, let's say you had 5 models. I can almost guarantee out of these 5 models, probably there's 1 or max 2 of these models bringing you 80% of the results. Now, if you focus on the other 3 models, the 20%, that shit can go bust. That shit might not even fucking work, right? Let's say you focus on the 20%, and the efforts you could have put into the 20%, you could have put it into the 80%, and you would have made more money. Do you understand? So let's say you have the 3 models, and you're working so hard to get them to 10K a month. Well, the 80% of your model, you just, for some reason, the reels are going viral, everything's working well. It's like just easy to make them scale. But now you're losing money because you're trying to make the 20% work. You understand? So what you have to do in that situation, you just got to be honest and just look at the fucking chess play. Does it make sense that I'm putting so much fucking effort into models that are not working? Probably they just don't fit the right niche, right? They're not skinny, they're not petite, they don't look young, they don't fit a niche that is proper to OF. And now you're just working hard, the ratios aren't correct, you're getting mad at the chatters. Send more bubs. And just shut up, you fucking traffic sluts, because the model sucks. What you should do is eliminate those models. Just go one by one, right? Start with the fucking lowest that makes the least amount of money and put the same amount of effort into this. And you will make more money.